What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow, long time no see, but today we are back going to be talking about Survivor South Africa Season 7. Yes, we are still on Season 7, talking about episodes 11, 12, and 13. So, in the home stretch now. So, my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and we obviously took a little bit of a break talking about Survivor South Africa between the stress of November and technical difficulties and just having lives, even quarantined lives. This ended up getting pushed back quite a bit, but we're hoping that we can finish really, really soon because the challenge is starting in December. And Jay Starrett and Natalie Anderson are going to be on the challenge. And so we're going to be watching that for some Survivor adjacent content. So we're super excited to get to cover the challenge because even though we don't get Survivor, it's at least something new to watch every week. Not something we can accidentally get spoiled by, like Survivor South Africa. So we're really excited, and we hope you guys are excited too.
Yeah, which I'm super excited because I think having a schedule of weekly podcasts and weekly new TV show episodes will be good for us so we can't accidentally keep pushing it back. So that'll be fun. And then also I feel like coming in 2021, we will also have new Survivor to podcast, but not Survivor US. We have Survivor South Africa and new Survivor Australia coming out next year. So that will also be very cool. And in the US Survivor world, they just announced that the petition work that we talked about I guess a few months ago on this channel, and that if you all are on like the Facebook or Reddit pages, it's been going around a lot of the petition to get 50% POC players on Survivor. So they're going to do that. And Big Brother Canada has already announced that they're going to do that a few months ago too also. So CBS in the United States is following through.
Yeah, and so that's super exciting. We're just really excited for the future, and like Rachel said, to have like something resembling a regular schedule again. So because it's been so long since we watched this, expect us to be a little bit confused because Rachel has notes, I don't have notes. So I'm just going to be winging it from the top of my head, and it's going to be a fun time.
Yeah, we'll see how good Alyssa's memory is for episodes 11, 12, and 13. And then next week, we will get back on track and then we'll finish before the challenge starts. So it'll be good, I think.
Yeah. So let's get this show on the road.
Ooh, yeah, dog barking. So we start off with episode 11. The merge happened in the cluster of 3 episodes that we did last time. And so episode 11, we start with Sepe envisioning a final 3 with Rob and Jacques. And she's basically telling Rob her whole plan and saying that she needs to cut the girls, as in Steffi and Nicole at 8 and 7. And so I was like, okay, Sepe, that's good ideas. You're thinking ahead. I think that's like a good plan kind of thing. But I don't know. I feel like spreading your secrets and spreading what you want to happen that early at episode 11 seems a little bit early because as we see Rob thinks Steffi is playing too hard, but also Rob doesn't want to cut the girls. So a little tension there.
Yeah, I think one of the things Sipe said earlier in the season was like she can come across as like very bossy, and so she didn't want to be super bossy. And I think this is kind of like where you see her fatal flaw coming out, where like she laid out her whole plan, like this is how I wanted to go. And I think that's kind of where she got herself in trouble. Because, like you said, Rob was already like knowing that he wanted, I guess, to distance himself from Steffi because he does think that she's playing too hard. But I think that's one of those things where if someone is obviously playing too hard, that's better for you than someone who's playing like a sneakier game. Because it's easier to like chop the neck of the person who's obviously playing too hard because you can at any point be like, this person's playing super hard, let's just send them home, rather than like having to convince someone that like, oh, this person's actually a snake in the grass. So
Yeah, I agree, which is why with this episode, it's really cool, I guess, but also sort of sad to see Rob make his magic work and get the person he wants to go home actually going home. And so we also see at the beginning Rob say that he wants the amigos to be the final four, the final five, depending on like who gets cut kind of thing. But he says that Sepe broke that trust because Sepe said she wants Nicole and Steffi gone. But then I was like, sort of annoyed throughout this episode, I feel, because it's that thing where people are like, okay, I want that person to go because they broke my trust. And so now I have a reason to go against them. But also, Rob last episode was saying that he wanted to vote Steffi out. So I'm sort of like, I don't know, people are being a little bit hypocritical, I feel like.
Yeah, but I feel like that's kind of this. I feel like Survivor South Africa, they're more hypocritical more often than Survivor US. Like, I remember last season, there were a lot of players where we were like, what? Like, you're saying, like, don't get angry, but then you're getting angry at everyone. So I think it's one of those things where maybe South Africans are just more hypocritical. I don't know. But yeah, I noticed the same thing where it seems like they're willing to change the bar depending on what they want at the moment.
Yeah, which I mean, it makes sense because it's a game. And I think if you can mastermind and change the bar as well as like Rob is able to, then like that's really good gameplay. And that you can like change the moral high ground, change what standards you abide by, depending on who you're talking with, or like what other people do versus what you do as a person. Like if you're able to separate that, like that's great because he thinks he did nothing wrong by saying he doesn't want Steffi to go far, but he thinks that like Sepe just ruined her whole game because she wants Nicole and Steffi gone. So I mean, it is good gameplay if you are able to do that, but also like as a viewer, I'm sort of like, I don't know. I don't really like the players that like preach the moral high ground and then they're not actually doing the moral high ground.
I think for me, that also bothers me because it becomes a problem at Final Tribal Council because they'll like get up and be like, you said blah, 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 and then it didn't happen. And it's like, you know that you made more than one Final Three promise, sir. So it's one of those things where I don't like seeing hypocrites because it kind of ruins the purpose of the game, I think. Because I really don't like it when juries like vote on bitterness rather than who actually played the best game. Because I think then you get results that don't necessarily make sense. So I guess it's one of those things where I don't like hypocrites because hypocrites I feel like end up being very hurt personally when someone else is hypocritical. So it's just a whole
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can work, and I think Rob is doing a good job at like saying one thing and maybe doing another thing, and I think maybe it won't bite him in the butt if he makes it to Final Tribal Council kind of thing. But I think where it does get into a little bit of a sticky situation is sort of like the coach kind of gameplay where you're preaching morality, like I'm not going to backstab you, XYZ, but then you do backstab people, and I think that's where at Final Tribal it's sort of like, wait, but you said this, but you did this other thing, like your actions don't match your words. But I feel like maybe for someone like Rob, because I don't feel like he's necessarily preaching the moral high ground to other people. Just in his confessionals, he was talking about, oh, I don't like Steffi now. Oh, now Sepe's on the chopping block because of what she said. So he's not saying it to other people. So maybe it won't come back around and be like, you said you wanted the Amigos Final Four, but you voted Sepe out. What the heck is up with that? So I feel like because he's being more private about it, like it won't necessarily bite him in the butt. But for people that are vocal about it, like Coach, then it's sort of problematic.
Yeah, as soon as you're vocal about it, that's when people can start pulling receipts and be like, actually. So.
You didn't do that, sucker. So yeah, going into the next challenge, we see that they have to pull like little blocks, pick blocks. And so the white block means that you're going to Island of the Idols. And so Nicole and Cobus are going. And so it was sort of weird, I guess. Two people now, just like we were saying before, the whole Island of the Idols thing where like
Island
it changes.
secrets.
Oh, yeah. Island of Secrets. See, we don't even know what island this is, where it changes every single episode, one person, two persons, they're saved or they're not saved. So for these two people, they miss the reward immunity challenge. It's one challenge, and so they don't get to play.
Yeah, and I believe they had to go to tribal anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like the weird thing was I feel like at the Island of Secrets they have a chance to win immunity and like like one of them wins immunity, you know, but they still go to tribal council, and so they do this like puzzle duel thing. And I think this was the same 7-piece puzzle that Alyssa and I did. Spencer's one that we have a DIY on this channel. I'm pretty sure it's that same like 7-piece square looking puzzle. And I mean, I guess I liked it. It's better than just picking a rock to like win immunity at the island, but it's just like these two people, one wins immunity and one doesn't. But it really doesn't matter because neither of these two people were really on the chopping block.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just because since it was a combined reward immunity challenge and they had no chance at all to win immunity in that challenge because they went to Island of Secrets, I think they wanted to give them a chance to win immunity just in case one of them had been in trouble. Because it would have really sucked if it's like, you can't play in the immunity challenge, but you need immunity in order to be safe in the game. So, like, I think that's why they did it. But again, it's one of those things where I wish that they just had consistent rules.
So, okay, I guess that makes sense. You know, if like Dante or Maba got sent there, then we'd probably be like, aha, why didn't they get a chance at immunity? This sucks because now they're going home. But yeah, I guess since those people are in a sort of power position, it doesn't really matter who won the immunity. So Cobus won it, so he got the puzzle. And then we flash back to the immunity/reward challenge, and it's a triple immunity. And so like 4 people were safe. And so I don't know. I was just like, okay, 4 people, there's like 9 or 10 people left. Like you have 1/3 of the tribe being safe at this point in time. I don't know. I feel like I had problems with that. Like Cobus is safe is one thing, but now you have like 4 people safe on the tribe. I don't know.
Yeah, it was really weird, especially because I think they drew for who would be on each team. And so it's like if all of the bottom people had been on the same team together, they could have all been immune. And that's kind of lame. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think there is some interesting strategy here. So the yellow team was Dante, Mike, and Jacques. The blue team was Steffi, Rob, and Letitia. Purple is Darao, Maba, and Sepe. And so, like, with the strategy, I think maybe you're smart enough and you're on a team with someone that, like, you know that they're next on the chopping block. So maybe you purposefully throw the challenge so that person will lose and your team doesn't win the immunity, because it is like one team will win and those 3 people will be safe, and then Cobus will also be safe because he won at the Island of Secrets. But I don't know, I feel like when you're in the moment, personally, I feel like I wouldn't care enough to like purposefully throw the challenge if like the person we want in Dante was going to go home tonight, because I just wouldn't care that much, I guess, especially because it is a reward challenge. Also, I feel like I would take the bullet of letting Dante stay another day to get like the reward and get food. And I feel like everyone would want to win, even if the next person on the chopping block is on your team.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I could maybe see throwing the challenge if it was just an immunity challenge and you wanted someone on your team to go home. But at the same time, I feel like I say this every time. You should never throw an immunity challenge. So I understand why Dante's team didn't like purposefully, you know.
Yeah, screw him over.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe if you went to the reward challenge in the prior episode, like 2 days ago, and you just got a feast, then maybe you would throw it because you just ate last time.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
the whole politics of having an entire team have immunity is weird. Like, I think it would have been cool if it was like the winning team gets reward and then the three of them play against each other and the winner of that challenge gets immunity or something like that. That way there's not so much of the tribe that's safe. But
Yeah, I feel like you're gonna like the challenge then, because I feel like they have a lot of like weird just groupings, random pairings of like teams, and then the whole team wins like safety for the week, and then they get the power.
I know, because we watched one episode of the challenge.
Yeah, like one or two for
last year for Jay, and I like kept up with it to see, like I kept up with the Wikipedia page specifically to see like if he had gone home yet or not. And like when it was like 7 people were safe, I was like, what the fuck? That's just it's fine, but it's really not.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I feel like I've been watching the challenge on CBS All Access recently to like prepare, since I feel like I've only really seen like 3 or 4 seasons. So I'm like, okay, time to prepare if Alyssa and I are going to be talking about it. But yeah, I feel like they do a lot of that weird kind of stuff. Sequester also, the online version, does just like a lot of the weird pairings that like you can't really, I guess, prepare for, which makes it interesting. Like Jacques couldn't have prepared for, aha, we're going to have a 3-person immunity team challenge today. Like, let me throw it. So I guess it is interesting if people are thinking like 4 steps ahead, but chances are people aren't. So with this, it's like a cube challenge, no repeats. And so yellow wins with Dante, Mike, and Jacques having immunity. So those 3 and Cobus have immunity. And I was like, okay, maybe, Dante was probably on the chopping block this episode, so Maba is probably in hot water now.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because spoiler alert, Maba doesn't go home this episode. It's a blindside. And I guess I feel bad for the person who does go home because it seems like this perfect storm of things had to happen for her to go home. I guess I should just say Sipe is the one who goes home. And I feel like it's one of those things where she said the wrong thing to Rob at the wrong time. And then because of the immunity challenge being the way it is, Dante had a much higher chance of winning than I think he would have if it was an individual immunity challenge. And yeah, I felt bad for her because like obviously she made a mistake, but I feel like there was a lot of factors like within the game itself that made it worse for her.
That's true. A lot of like the dominoes had to fall into place. So we go into the reward challenge. They have pasta, good stuff to eat, looks good. All the food on Survivor South Africa always looks like really good. And so Mike is saying that the 7-person alliance is too strong, but it doesn't make sense to flip right now, which I mean, I guess because you don't want to make it a 7-7, but I feel like Mike does need to flip soon, maybe in like 1 or 2 votes, because I don't know. I was just sort of annoyed with this 3 cluster of episodes because it felt like Dante was trying to get stuff done. He was trying to flip his like loose change people that he said were the people who were like on the bottom of the main alliance. And like Dante picked it out like pretty well, I think. And he just like can't get anything done. And it was sort of annoying that like the big alliance just plows through and that no one on the like loose change people want to make a move, which it does make sense because we see that all the time. And like Big Brother All-Stars recently, all the like bottom feeder people, they never want to band together. So it just sucks.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like we say this every season, but like if you don't have soon you're going to run out of time to flip, and you run out of time to flip way sooner than I think people assume when they're in the game. Like they're like, oh, I can just hold on for 1 or 2 more votes. And it's like, one thing you have to consider is that with every vote that passes, the alliance that is in like the top gets stronger together. And like it's possible that like cracks can form in that top alliance, but also it's very possible that they become more and more loyal to each other. So
yeah, I agree. I feel like it seems like the loose change bottom feeder people, they're just all hoping, or they all have the facade that they're higher up than the other loose change people. So they're like, I'm more superior to you because I'm actually Rob's right hand. So that's probably why like someone like Mike isn't going to want to flip right now with going on to like Dante's team, because he knows Dante is like the next person to go had they lost immunity this time. So it does make sense, and that's good on like Rob for keeping those bottom people thinking like that they're in the main alliance when they're really maybe a little bit like a side alliance to like the main Amigos people. So it does make sense, but also like it just it does really suck to see like the people being fooled by the people in power and just sort of like succumbing to the fact that, okay, if I'm Mike, I just need to beat out Darao and Maba and Dante, and then I'm in the final 5 and then I can play from there. But I think if you're going into the game with that kind of thought process and like, okay, I'm on the bottom, but I'm like higher on the pedestal than like the other people on the bottom, so like I'm not going to band together with them. I would just like to see some time where we see the bottom people band together and form a good solid like underdog alliance.
Yeah, I think like you said, it all comes from like perceived power, and I guess you can say good on the like majority alliance for making everyone think that they're the highest of the low. Though I guess that could also just be people want to believe they're more important than they are, no matter the situation. So I guess it depends, because I guess I can't really remember anyone in the like Spit Shake Alliance making anyone on the outside feel like they belonged. So maybe scratch what I said about good on them for making people believe that they're higher up. Maybe people are just kind of dumb.
Yeah, or I guess people are just believing that the Spit Shake 7 is like an actual like 7 and not like there's not a 4 within the 7, or there's not like 1 or 2 or 3 people like running it within the 7, which I think is more of the case where there is a stronger core within the 7 that the other people in the 7 like Mike and Cobus and Letitia, like what the heck is she doing out there, like aren't realizing, or they aren't like doing anything to go against it. So we go back to camp and Steffi wants to eat the chicken, and her argument makes sense on why they should kill the chicken, because 3 dudes are coming back from the reward, and Mike, Dante, and Jacques, they just ate pasta. We don't want to feed them twice, so we need to kill the chicken while they're gone. And so like that makes a lot of sense. More food for you if the big dudes are like out. So Sepe's annoyed by it, and Letitia says Sepe likes to rule, don't step on her toes, and Letitia doesn't want to quit anymore. So that is good. But I feel like this little argument between like Steffi and Sepe is just showing more of her downfall going into the tribal council tonight.
Yeah, and I guess with the chicken thing, I feel like that's one of those things where you have to consider, is the food you are going to get worth the drama of killing the chicken? But yeah, like you said, Sipe kind of showed, it was kind of hard to watch because I feel like I kind of saw it coming once they were at tribal. So I just felt bad for her because she'd been doing pretty well up until this point.
Yeah, I feel like this whole episode, it like spiked in negative screen time for Sepe. So it's sort of like, okay, she's probably going to get blindsided tonight, which really sucks because I feel like we both really liked her. So we see before tribal, Sepe wants either Letitia or Darao to go home over Maba. So trying to vote out the people who are like, they're not really in the main alliance, but maybe I feel like Darao thinks he's in some kind of big alliance. And Sepe is telling Rob this. And so I wrote in my notes, like, uh-oh, she's getting a lot of screen time being the boss. And so that's probably not good. And Rob tells Darao about Sepe being like the best and everything. Darao now wants to blindside her. Nicole tells Cobus, I feel like this was interesting. Nicole tells Cobus about the half idol as a test to get trust. And so they're saying, okay, it has to be Sepe, but we need to get the half idol back from her. So I thought that was interesting that they were like going to blindside her and also take that half idol back so they don't flush an idol while voting her out.
Yeah, that was just really complicated, and I remember it happening and me being like, I'm not going to remember any of this. So I'm glad you remembered it or wrote it down. So.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was like, that's so savage, you know, that like Seppe's in your Amigos Alliance, although she was sort of like the last person invited into the crew after you voted off the other people on your OG tribe kind of thing. So, like, I just felt so sad. And it's like, no, Seppe, don't believe them. Like, don't give them the half idol back. But dang, you know, Rob and Nicole were really good. They got that half idol back. Seppe gives it to Rob. And so Rob gives it back to Nicole. And now Nicole has a full idol. Rob has a full idol. And Seppe is just got rid of her safety net because I feel like, yes, you do probably want to give it back if someone asks for like trust purposes, but also when you get rid of your like net safety net kind of thing, like they have no reason to vote you out now besides, haha, you're in the named alliance kind of thing. But I don't know. I feel like would you personally like hold on to that idol as like a no way in heck am I going to give this back to you because then you can just vote me out.
I feel like that's one of those things where you say, I'll give this back to you after tribal council.
Or yeah, or like if you need it at tribal, like give me an eye or nudge me and like we can go play it. Cause like they were like, oh, we think like Nicole is going to go home. We should give the idol back kind of thing for safekeeping. So then maybe you could try to play something like, I'll hold on to it until tribal. And like if you need it at tribal, I'll play it for you. But I don't know, giving it back before tribal just seems very risky. But they do have a lot of trust. Seppe trusts Rob and everything, so it makes sense that she gave it back, but also like don't put your guard down.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where you can trust someone, but maybe not enough to give them back half an idol right before tribal. Like, that just seems super sus to me. So
yeah, especially like not even like before the immunity challenge or anything, right before tribal, maybe you gotta be like spidey senses, like don't do it.
yeah. So I guess missing the spidey senses was Sipe's ultimate downfall. She gets voted out. Dante lives to fight another day because he was immune.
Yeah, so yeah, speaking of Dante and the loose change people, I guess going back to that kind of thing, Dante, Doral, Letitia, Maba, and Mike, those are the people Dante is telling that they should make a 5-person. Like I said, I was just glad that the minority people wanted to band together. Dante was trying to get this group together, but I felt like Mike, Doral specifically probably won't do it. Probably Letitia too, because she's just like with Rob's group and like not really doing anything else. And Dante wants to send Rob home. And, you know, I think that's a really good idea. No one wants to do it. I think Rob is too insulated. So picking Rob probably wasn't the smartest thing to get like the loose change people to actually work. But I mean, I don't know. I just also feel like voting Seppe out might have been too early for Rob because then Rob becomes the biggest target. But also in the next 2 episodes, we don't really see those like reverberations come back to affect Rob in the way that I thought it might have. So maybe it was a fine move, but I just thought maybe it was too early because now who does Rob have like better than him? I feel like Rob's the top dog.
I think it's interesting because I feel like whenever there's like a failed coup on someone like Rob, it kind of makes people think like, oh, the last time we tried, we didn't vote him out. So I guess we can never vote him out. And so I think part of why Rob continued to be safe was because Dante tried to get him before he actually had the numbers to do so successfully. But
yeah, so I'm like
thought.
hoping, you know, a flip can come soon, but it does seem that like Rob is too insulated. And I don't know. I feel like just voting out Seppe, who's like a trustworthy number, even if Seppe does want to like vote out the girls and like 1 or 2 votes, I feel like there's just a lot of like outsiders that you still have to get rid of and like people that could also like come together and like vote against you kind of thing. So yeah. Seppe gets voted out. Doral votes for Cobus and or Cobus votes for Durao, and so Jacques and Sepe vote for Maba. And I was like, okay, hopefully this like weird vote tribal council rings some bells for people. Should definitely ring some bells for Jacques because he and Sepe voted for the same person. Should definitely ring some bells for Cobus because he was on the wrong side of the numbers. The jury was shocked by this. And I'm just like, okay, let's form some kind of group against Rob. And we see Sepe had a good final goodbye message. She wasn't bitter and she was so happy. So that was very sweet.
Yeah, I always like when their goodbye messages are happy. So, yeah. I feel like this episode was the only one I would say was kind of unpredictable as far as who goes home, though.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like with the episode 12 and 13, it's just sort of like Majority Alliance is picking off the people that are like sort of in the bottom of the Majority Alliance kind of thing. So Sepe, that was a surprise. I really thought she could have made it a lot further and was hoping she could make it to final 3 because like I think she's played a fine game up to this point and wanted to see her keep on playing. But alas, we don't get nice things.
Yeah, we don't get nice things in Survivor, but it's fine, I guess.
Yeah, so starting episode 12, everyone is like pissed off after Tribal Council. Dante is mad because he thought that his Loose Change Alliance was like actually going to come together and get his way kind of thing. Cobus and Jacques are mad because they're on the wrong side of the vote, and Rob swoops in like the good player he is and does some like position management with them. He's like trying to talk to them, first person to talk to them to smooth things over. They were wondering why they were left out kind of thing. And I don't know. I was just like, dang, bring some alarm bells for Cobus and Jacques. Let's get your minds thinking. Stop going back to Rob.
Yeah, I wish that it wasn't like I feel like Rob is starting to take up more and more screen time, and I guess I should be happy about that because he is my winner pick. But like, I don't know, I just feel bad watching everyone else kind of not realize that Rob is like gaming them real hard. So
yeah, I feel like Rob is in the perfect like final 4 loser spot right now. Hopefully people realize, and it seems like they do realize, but they're all just like waiting for something, which could work in Rob's favor if people wait too long. And I guess, you know, like we were saying for Jacques and Cobus, it doesn't make sense to flip to the minority because the minority people will never work together once you're on the bottom. Like everyone wants to go to the power in Rob, so that does make sense, but it's just less fun to watch. So we go into the reward challenge. It's an elimination challenge. And so Dante wins. So good for him. He gets food. And I felt like he's the only real person against the opposition. So Dante picks people to come on the reward with him, with Letitia, Mike, and Maba. And so I was like a little iffy about this at first because I felt like these picks were all like the follower people with no backbones or no like thoughts or no game agency for themselves. So like none of these, like Letitia, Mike, or maybe Mike, okay, but Letitia and Maba I felt like aren't really going to have the social capital to be flipping any votes. They're more of I tell you what to do kind of thing, and then you do what I want. And I felt like none of them are really going to be flipping on Rob. And so, like, I was a little iffy about that. Maybe Dante, since he's like the next person to go kind of thing, should have tried to get in the good graces of Rob and suck up. But also, good for him for not wanting to suck up and for continuously trying to get the loose change people to do something.
yeah, I think it's one of those things where sucking up would eventually like not actually be that good for him because I think people would see it as being kind of duplicitous and like knowing that he was going home and groveling because of it. So I'm glad that Dante like didn't sway from his morals, I guess. Because like sometimes you have to do stuff you don't particularly like in Survivor, but I think dependent on what that is, it can sometimes like bite you in the butt. So I don't know. I don't have a problem with the way Dante played this.
Yeah, I think maybe to change it, you could switch out Letitia and Maba and bring in like Jacques and Nicole in there, because I feel like Jacques and Nicole have some power. They both have idols, which they don't really know about, but also there are more people, I think, that has more game agency. And if he's trying to live another day, because that's all really that you can ask for when you're on the bottom, then maybe promising something or trying to work out a deal with people like Jacques, Mike, and Nicole might have been better than bringing over Letitia and Maba, who you really can't offer anything, I feel like, and they can't offer you anything.
Yeah. I guess it's one of those things where he's been trying so long to like rally people that it makes sense, but also they don't really have enough power. So
he's just got to realize that these people are not going to rally. So
yeah, at some point you gotta be like, cut your losses and figure out a different plan.
yeah, and then maybe throw those people under the bus. Like they're gonna, yeah, I think you could have swung it in a way like they're gonna take your final 3, final 2 spot as the GOAT, so we need to vote them out, kind of thing. So he sends Darao to the Island of Secrets, and so I don't know, feels bad for him. No one wants to talk to Dante or listen to his plans, which sucks, but also makes sense. Dante is probably the next person to go.
Yeah, probably. I think he's just one of those people where like he tried really hard, but I think he started trying too late and he's tried with the wrong people. So
Yeah.
kind of,
and like at the reward, we do see some rumblings of something that's going to happen. We see Mike and Dante agreeing that like, okay, we should come together and vote for Cobus and fake the vote on Jacques so that Jacques will play the idol. And like I was like, oh wow, okay, so surprised something might actually come of this like loose change grouping. But I wrote in my notes, not sure if this will last, because if Dante doesn't win immunity, he's probably still going home, which is what we end up see happening. But hopefully for the future, in the next few episodes, like Mike having this idea, Jacques being blindsided multiple times at tribal council, will come together and realize that they're not so high on the totem pole as they think they are.
Yeah, I feel like one of the things about Jacques being constantly blindsided is that it's already happened, I think, twice, 3 times, and he still has come back every time. So
he's just trying to make the family visit.
Yeah, and so I feel like that's one of the things where he's already shown that he's okay with it, kind of. So
yeah, so with Darao at the Island of Secrets, Darao, I'm not sure if I like this Island of Secrets ever. He gets a cheat code to win the next immunity challenge where you just have to memorize a lot of like the symbols, and that's the order that Nico is going to be saying. It's like the memory game puzzle where they're like, okay, fish, frog, totem pole, and then you have to do like fish, frog, totem pole on your block to like have the same order correct. And there's only 10 people left. So if Darao gets this cheat code and then ends up losing the immunity challenge, like you didn't try hard enough, because you have a whole day with nothing else to do but memorize these little symbols and to get them correct. And so I don't know.
I didn't like this one because it's not like an advantage in the sense that like, oh, you get something that makes it slightly easier. It's an advantage as in they literally give you the answers.
Yeah, like, I was like, there's no risk.
Especially because Darao, like, he was so dumb because he didn't start memorizing it until like sundown. And I was like, bruh, what are you doing? You had several more hours. And I guess it didn't end up making a difference because he won. But like, if he hadn't won, I would have been like, maybe you should have started looking at it before sundown. But
yeah, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of advantages that help you win immunity challenges, especially ones that like this, which is just an answer. We've seen in like US Survivor a ton of times where, I guess less so recently, they've been like stepping back and how good an advantage is. But I feel like in olden Survivor days, like you would get an advantage and it's basically like sort of a guarantee that you're going to win the next immunity because the advantage is so OP. And that's something like this. Like no one really has a chance. Like Dante and Darao and Nicole were the final 2, but it's like Darao looking at it all day versus Nicole's just superior memory skills. Like, I don't know. Darao is probably going to win it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I also feel bad for everyone else because it's like they don't know that Doral has this like super, super hack. And so like poor Dante, who is like relying on this to be how he like makes it to the next day. That's hard just because it's like you basically already gave Doral the immunity idol.
Yeah,
So
no real point to like playing that challenge unless Doral is not that smart and didn't spend enough time memorizing it. And then that's just like, dude, you gotta be voted out because that sucks. But like things do happen. So Doral does win the immunity challenge. Good for him. But also, like, no one else stood a chance because if you have all day and you're on Survivor with nothing else to do and $1 million is on the line, you better memorize this so good.
yeah, and I feel like Doral would have been real pissed at himself too if he hadn't won that. But I don't know. I just felt bad for everyone else, like I said.
Yeah, it would have been funny if he lost it though.
Yeah.
So we go before tribal, everyone is mad at Dante. Sucks. I feel bad for Dante because everyone was mad at him. They were saying, like, oh, we're going to all starve now. We all need to eat because Dante brought all the weak people to the reward challenge with him. And I was like, dang, really sucks for Dante. He's not even there to like defend himself or like explain his choices. And people are ragging on him. It's like, he just can't catch a break. So
I
before
just feel like
tribal,
this is a case of they don't like Dante and they're making up excuses not to like Dante.
yeah, or like nitpicking little things and like making someone more villainized so it makes people feel better about voting him off. Because if you're like, Dante stole all of our food, he's feeding all the weak people, now like he's public enemy number one, that helps, like psychology wise, secure in other people's minds, like, Dante is bad, Dante is evil, we need to vote him out, and I don't need to feel any kind of sort of way. I don't need to feel bad about voting Dante out because he is evil. He took food out of our mouths, kind of thing. So it's like, it makes sense for the people in power to like villainize one person, but also
The sense
just feels
of
bad.
entitlement is just so like Dante should have brought us. Like, why would he bring you? You're being so mean to him. If you wanted him to bring you to reward challenges, maybe stop being mean.
Yeah, or fake pull them in like you pulled everyone else in that they are not going to flip on you. And so I was really thinking the free change people might actually come together in tricking Jacques to play the idol and voting Cobus, because the other plan is to vote Dante and Maba split vote. But Rob has so much power. And Rob wants to vote Jacques and do the split on Dante. So it's sort of like the free change thing is sort of working, but also it's not really working because it's not their actual plan. Rob just changed the plan to fit his needs. So like good for Rob, but also like sucks for everyone else. They just got bamboozled again.
Yeah. This whole plan going into tribal kind of confuses me, but I guess the Spit Shake 7 know that Jacques has an idol, question mark, and so they want him to be paranoid so they can flush the idol, and question mark.
Yeah.
That happened, right? I'm not making that up.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I just, how did they know that Jacques had an idol? Is that something that's from like past episodes that I forgot?
I think so. I'm pretty sure Jacques told Jacques told Doral and Sepe from their OG like swapped tribes, and then I'm pretty sure he told Rob a few episodes ago last time. So like 4 weeks ago for us. So yeah, everyone knows. So they want to flush Jacques' idol. So we see at tribal, Dante is right on his analogies. He's saying like the loose change, lapdogs analogy, which I guess offends the other people, but like he's sort of right with his analogies. The minority never gets together, and Jacques asks, should I play this idol kind of thing, play it just to be safe? But he already did play that once before in like the pre-merge era of this season where he plays the idol when he didn't need to. So maybe his senses are a little bit better now after having played an idol when he didn't need to. But he sort of gets that sense that people are maybe making him nervous or maybe potentially throwing a few votes his way. So he asks, like, should I play this idol? Whisper, whisper. But then he ends up not playing his idol. But Dante gets voted out. So I was like, okay, Jacques better, like, strike two now. This better make Jacques mad.
It better, but I feel like it didn't really.
I'm like, I feel like, you know, Jacques' my winner pick. So, like, I want to see him flip with the other people. And I think maybe it could happen episode 14. Didn't happen episode 13, the last one in this cluster. But, like, it does seem like he's just playing to make it to the family visit.
Yeah, and like I understand the whole idea of like, oh, I just want to make it to the merge, I just want to make it to the family visit, but I feel like that's ultimately not why you play Survivor. Like, you play Survivor to win. So it frustrates me when people are okay with anything less than winning.
Yeah, like last season with them thinking Tom would be okay with Final Five. Nobody's really okay with Final Five. Everyone should be playing to win, and that's where casting needs to cast people who all want to win and will be willing to go balls to the wall to win, not people that have like these milestones in their head that they're like, okay, I just want to make this, drag me along, I don't care. You basically own my vote kind of thing. Like, I don't know, that doesn't lead to good gameplay because then the better players will just take advantage of all the like players who just have this point that they want to make it to and they're not really thinking for themselves.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary of it, I think. Because it's like, I feel like the whole idea, if you're playing not to lose, that's different from playing to win. And for so many of these people, they're playing not to lose in the sense that like they want to get to a certain milestone versus playing to win. They might play more aggressively, and of course that comes with greater risk, but also it means that they might get beyond just whatever arbitrary point they set for themselves.
Yeah, so speaking of, we go into episode 13. Jacques and Cobus realize that they're on the bottom. So, like, 2 tribal councils it took for you to be bamboozled that, like, something's going to come of it. So, Steffi says Jacques and Cobus are sucking up to the jury. And I feel like this episode was just such a Steffi, why do you got to act like this kind of episode? I was just getting really annoyed by all of her antics. And basically, Steffi at the beginning of the episode causes one fight where she is going off on Jacques saying, you're untrustworthy. How can you keep an idol for yourself? That's like the worst thing kind of thing. But I'm like, y'all really, like, you aren't even aligned, really, are you? And it's like, this is a game that is like set on deceit and trust and kind of thing. And it's like, you guys aren't that closely aligned. So like, what does Jacques owe you that like he needs to be telling you all about his hidden immunity idol kind of thing? I was just like, it goes back to the top of this podcast, Alyssa, where people are preaching the moral high ground, but also like, I don't know. I'm just like, Jacques doesn't owe you anything. He doesn't need to tell you he has an idol.
I feel like that's kind of the same thing they did with Dante, where they were like, well, Dante should have brought us onto the reward. And it's like, these people don't have to do anything, especially when you've made it very clear to them that you're not their number one priority. Or they're not your number one priority. I got those pronouns backwards, but...
Yeah, and like I feel like Steffi just needs a little bit of a wake-up call, which we'll see later in this episode. But we go into the reward challenge, which was sort of interesting. It's a win a stake advantage in the game or play for letters from home. So you get to pick which reward that you are going for. And so I thought that was a cool twist. It shows your cards a little bit in the fact that like if you go for the advantage, it looks like you're more schemy or grimy than if you go for letters at home or the stake. It really shows where your cards are. So for the food, Nicole and Doral go for the steak. The letters, Jacques, Letitia, Steffi, Mike, and Cobus go for the letters. And the advantage in the game, Rob and Maba go for that.
I thought it was really sweet because Doral and Nicole were the only two people competing for the steak, and Doral just like voluntarily lost.
Yeah.
And that just made my heart really warm because I feel like you saw some genuine relationships in this game come from like people deciding to give up for the other person's sake. So that was sweet.
Yeah, I agree. Like, Doral, good social game. Give it to Nicole, who has like more power. The letters, a similar thing happens. A lot of people drop out, and then it's just Mike and Steffi, and then Mike drops for Steffi. And so, same kind of thing, like, oh, that's really nice, but also, dang, that's sort of rough that you're giving up like your family letter to give it to someone else. I think it's a little bit different for like food versus like a family letter.
I think it's also one of those things where I would ask myself, would this person do the same for me? And I feel like maybe Nicole would give up a meal for Doral, but I don't think Steffi would give up the letter for Mike. So if I were Mike, I personally wouldn't have done that. But that's also partially just because I don't like Steffi. Because like you said, she's so much.
Yeah, and I think it could be an interesting strategy. I wonder if people would play this on the island where like you talk about your family so much, how much you miss them, like, oh, I love them so much, XYZ. And then when it comes time for like a family visit or letters, then like if Mike was doing that strategy where like he never not talks about his family, then he drops to give it to someone else, then it could be like, oh dang, like Mike is such a good person. He dropped even though he talks about his family 24/7. Like, I wonder if that could be an interesting strategy that gets you like some bonus points with your tribe if you like play up how much you like your family and then like you'd give it up for someone else later down the line.
Yeah, I feel like giving up rewards is one of those things you have to play real careful because people also realize that's a way to curry favor. So, yeah.
Yeah, like winners at war. So Rob and Maba go for the advantage in the game, and I was like, let's go, Maba. Let's take down Rob. But of course, Rob wins. So he goes to the Island of the Idols.
Island of Secrets.
Rick, you're right. Island of Secrets. Yeah, so Island of Secrets, Rob gets to practice the puzzle at the end of the next immunity challenge, and he wins everything else that was won at this reward challenge. So he gets a letter from home, and he also gets the steak. And I thought the letter from his dad was a really cute segment.
Yeah, I was kind of annoyed because this seemed like a very OP Island of Secrets because it's like not only does he get food and comfort and an advantage, it's like and like yeah, the letter from his dad was cute or whatever, but also I'm like, why does he get so much for It's fine.
True. Maybe the advantage in the game should have just been being sent to the island and then you win the steak and the letter and not the advantage in the next immunity challenge. Because same thing like we said for Doral winning that advantage in the next challenge, it's just too overpowering.
Yeah.
So yeah, we go into Steffi's letter. Everyone is super sad. Mike is sad that he gave up his letter. So sucks. And I don't know. It would get very much more sad if Jacques steals a family visit. And that's just like all I really hope. I really need Jacques to make it to the family visit and actually steal it from someone. I don't want Jacques to win that challenge to get it on his own. I want him to steal it.
That's so like skeezy though. Like, ugh.
I know. That's what like we didn't get to see in Survivor Millennials versus Gen X when they had this reward steal. So I really hope. But I feel like if you do steal the family visit, so say like Rob wins it and you're Jacques, you steal it from Rob, I think you have to still take Rob on the like on the visit,
Yeah.
You're gonna be total like butthole about it, and like when he gets to pick 3 or 4 people, he doesn't pick the person that actually won it. That would be so mean.
It would be really mean, but I also could see it happening depending on like who it was that won it. So
that's true.
especially if Jacques' only goal is to get to the loved one's visit, like if he doesn't care about burning bridges after that.
Yeah, I'm like, I just want the drama. Just give me the chaotic energy, and like that's all I want.
Honestly,
so
me.
yeah, so we see Cobus talk about wanting to get to the final 8 in the big group setting. Steffi says, Jacques, can you flush your idol for me? And I'm like, what the heck? Like, I was like, why would you ask that in front of everyone? And like, why would that be something that comes out of your mouth in the first place? And Jacques says, don't you think everyone else is hiding something? And like, Steffi is getting annoyed. Like, no one else is keeping secrets from me. Jacques, you're the only person that's keeping secrets from me. And I just like really want Steffi's like to see Steffi's face when she sees that literally both Nicole and Rob, the 2 other people in their 3-person Amigos Alliance, both have idols, and they all knew about this half idol. Seppe knew about this half idol before you. Steffi knew about this half idol. I just want to like see her face because she really believes that only Jacques is being deceitful or untrustworthy, untruthful. And like, I don't know, Jacques, why would he ever say yes to flushing his own idol when he's not going to get any votes? Like, that's so dumb. This is a part of the game. Like, you can't just ask people to flush their idol.
Yeah, I also feel like it's one of those things where if I were Jacques, I would just be messy and start like airing everything else that I knew about Steffi's alliance members so that she realized I wasn't the only one lying to her. But I guess Jacques doesn't actually know that much. So
yeah, so Steffi wants to split the vote on Jacques and Cobus. Jacques tells Cobus about the reward steal, and I was like, I'm not sure. I'm sort of iffy about telling other people because Jacques tells Cobus about the reward steal, and he tells Mike about the reward steal. And I see where he's coming from. He's trying to use it as a way to curry favor. Like, Cobus, Mike, if you save me this time, if you help me get to the family visit, I will 100% take you on the family visit. Like, that would be a good trade. You get to go on the family visit. So, like, that makes sense in a way if you're thinking about it. But also, if I were like Mike or Cobus, I would be thinking in the back of my mind, like, this person could steal this family visit from me. We don't know how many people he gets to bring on the visit. Maybe he's promising this to everyone, or like maybe he would be deceitful later and like not bring me on the family visit after I worked my butt off to like save him. So on the back of my mind, I'd be thinking, oh, red flag, maybe we need to vote Jacques out because he could potentially steal the family visit from me, not bring me on the family visit. So I don't know, like, what would be better or worse? Because I feel like if he promised it to someone that isn't good at challenges, it might be like, oh, that's a good deal. But I feel like someone like Mike could win the reward challenge on his own and then potentially get it stolen from him, which wouldn't be good if Jacques doesn't end up like keeping up to his promise and taking the person he steals it from.
Yeah, it's just messy. So
yeah, so I mean, I want to see that play out, but I feel like a little bit of a red flag. I would sort of want to vote Jacques out because he could steal it, and I would be like spreading that all around camp. Like, Jacques is going to steal the family visit. That's another person in front of me on the chopping block to go home because they have a big target on their back, and so could be used as strategy if people wanted it to. So we go into the immunity challenge, and it's a balancing ball. And so Rob is really good. He got to practice it. You know, I feel like this should be a warning to people that like some people like Rob are really good at challenges. You might not be able to beat them. So you might need to start voting the people that are really good at challenges out. Jacques and Cobus make it pretty far. So I was excited, and then they both don't win.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like having 2 challenges in a row where someone gets a distinct advantage is kind of like annoying. Just because it's like, at least this one wasn't handing him like the win the way that Dural's did. But I just think it's unfair if like every immunity challenge there's someone that has an advantage. So
Yo, yeah, I literally wrote that in my notes. I said, disappointed again. Island of Secrets is too OP, 2 immunity challenges in a row because of the island. Like, what's the point of competing in the challenge then if someone has such a distinct advantage, you know?
yeah. And it's one of those things where they don't know that someone has an advantage, so they can't even choose to sit out and save their energy. So.
Yeah, I'm like, I'd pick food then. So we see Kobus going to the Spit Shake 7, thinking like that's a true, real thing still. He says, big move. He's thinking either we make a big move or I can be here tomorrow still. So I was like, SMH, you know, you're sort of on the bottom. So being here tomorrow probably means you're going home the next time or soon. So you do need to make a big move now. But we don't really see that happen. Kobus keeps on pushing for the 7 to stay together and vote Maba or Darao out. And he is really pushing that 7 because he thinks that he just needs to make it 1 more vote, 2 more votes kind of thing. But Koba should really be the one of the people pushing for big move season and going with the loose changers.
Yeah. But I think it's one of those things where he doesn't realize that he's one of the people who should be doing that. So
yeah, which I guess is interesting. How, if you were on Survivor, do you realize that you're on the bottom and that you need to go and like not be pushing for this group to stay together, but you need to be causing cracks and pushing for the group to like split apart? I would love to know, like, are there signs or tells, or is it just a gut feeling? Like, why is Kobus not picking up on it? So everyone is on board with splitting the vote on Kobus and Jacques. Maba is not trying to do anything. Letitia, they're just going on board with it. I think at least Mike, you know, is thinking about we need to take Rob out soon because he has a lot of numbers and he's thinking about the loose change people. So at least that's good for Mike. I have hope in Mike. Did you freeze, Alyssa?
yeah, I did freeze. So I didn't hear anything of what you just said, but I hope it was good.
Yeah, I was just talking about Kobus. Everyone is on board voting Kobus and Jacques.
Yeah, poor Kobus.
So, yeah, Rob has an advantage plan. He says he is going to lie and say that he can see 2 votes at tribal council and like see who voted for who, which that's actually not a pretty bad idea. I thought that was a cool, like, weird advantage that he made up in his head that's fake, because it would get people to be too afraid to flip on him. And so I thought that was really good. But I don't think we saw it play out this time. Maybe in the future he'll like use it to scare people into staying in line, but the people in his 7 already want to stay in line, so he doesn't really have anything to worry about right now.
Yeah. It's good for him, I guess.
Yeah, so now we see later in the episode, Kobus wants to make a big move because he realizes that nobody is talking to him. So at least he thought of it, you know, at least the senses came and kicked in, but a little bit too late, so sucks for him. So we see maybe it coming together where Jacques, Kobus, Maba, and Darao would vote for Steffi, and I was like, please let this work. I want to see this happen. But also Kobus wants to save face with Rob, and so we see Kobus still like going to Rob, wanting to suck up to Rob, and it just, I don't know. They're too far, Mike and Kobus, Jacques, they're too far up Mike's butt, or too far up Rob's butt to make a move, so
Yeah,
that
I felt
Steffi
bad
vote's not
for
going to work.
Kobus, because Kobus is the one who ends up going home even after kissing Rob's ass the whole episode. And they once again tried to flush Jacques' idol. Didn't happen, so sucks
Yeah.
for Jacques, I guess.
Yeah, Kobus realizes at Tribal that he might be in trouble. The jury just seems so pissed off about the big alliance thing. Their faces just show it all. Dante looks so bored sitting over there, and I was really nervous. Jacques doesn't play his idol again, so like, dang, good for Jacques. He really learned that first time where he played the idol when he didn't need to, that 2 episodes in a row he has big enough guts to not play this idol, even though votes are coming his way, but he can see the bluff and he calls the bluff. And so good for him. I just really hope, the people like Jacques, Mike, Maba, Letitia, those people can come together. Episode 14 next time and make some moves.
That's a very bold prediction, and I guess we'll have to see whether or not it comes true. So, as always, we're going to be watching 3 episodes. So, we're going to be watching 14, 15, and 16 over the next week. And hopefully, we will not end up having to push back our podcast like 6 different times. So,
yeah, we will see you all next weekend, the 21st, 22nd, maybe the 23rd. So put that in your calendar. Hold us to it. We need to finish this Survivor season before December 9th when the challenge starts. So We're almost there. I feel like 2 more podcasts with groups of 3. I think the next one will have the finale in it. Not this group, but I think the next one.
Group, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, we'll see you guys then. Please let us know what you're thinking in the comments below. And yeah, have